Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome freaking back. As you guys can see by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we are finally doing a July wrap-up and an August TBR. So, clearly we are already a few days into August. I have had a few more pressing videos to get out, so make sure you go and watch those first because it's going to lead into today's video. So, I only read 2 books in the month of July. We were moving, so I have to kind of give myself some grace, but I only read 2 books. So, let's just go ahead and knock those ones out. The first book that I read in the month of July was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. If you guys know, Sarah J. Maas, the way that woman takes up way too much of my brain. But if you guys know, it is currently the last available book in the ACOTAR series. The next 2 books are coming out very soon, so I was doing a reread and this book still ended up being a 5-star for me. I really love Nesta and Cassian and really the whole inner circle during this book. I feel like they're all going through a lot that I don't think a lot of other authors have had the balls to touch on. You know what I mean? Like, some of the stuff in this book are really heavy topics and I think that Sarah J. Maas handles them really well. And if you guys know, Sarah J. Maas was on a podcast episode on Call Her Daddy and she kind of explained who Nesta was a little bit, and rereading this after watching that podcast, that interview, was insane. I kind of felt like Nesta hit a deeper part of my body because of that interview. Airplane. But I think that Nesta hit a different part of my heart this reread because of that interview with Sarah, and I just truly loved that a lot. As you guys heard me say already, this book was a 5-star for me. It will definitely always be a 5-star for me. And the second book that I read, and the last book that I read in the month of July, was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Holy cow, am obsessed with that book. That book has been on my mind for a few days now. I did just finish it not that long ago, but it's been on my brain for a few days now because of just the way that the story ended, the way that everything tied together at the end, but it felt like they were all separate stories throughout the plot. You know what I mean? I rated this book a 5-star. This book follows Marco and Celia, and they are both, I guess you could say, magicians, but there is a circus and it ends up being a crazy ride. It kind of feels like The Hunger Games and, I mean, I guess Caraval? Yeah, The Hunger Games and Caraval, mix them, you get The Night Circus. And it truly, I could not have predicted anything that happened in that book. It had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. I was, like I just said, it was so unpredictable that my jaw was dropped for half of the book. And it ended up being a little bit darker than I had anticipated it to be, so if you have young ones or if you are young, maybe look into some of the things that go on in this book because they were a little bit darker, and not to say that it was descriptive, but it was dark, if that makes sense. So those were the only 2 books that I read in the month of July, which is kind of embarrassing. But getting into the month of August, this is my August TBR. I am so excited for this month of reading. It's gonna be great. But let's just get into it. The first book that I want to read, and the first book that I have already downloaded on my Kindle, is Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hawkhauser. I have had this book on my TBR for a few months. It was one of the books that was announced on Goodreads. But Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hockhauser follows Cinderella's stepmother. If you were like, why do I know that name? It's because you've heard it in Cinderella. But this is Cinderella's stepmother. It tells her story. So after the death of her second husband, Lady Tremaine Bramley is solely responsible for her two daughters, Rosamond and Mathilde, her simpering stepdaughter Elaine, a razor-taloned peregrine falcon, and a crumbling manor buried in the woods. When a royal ball offers the chance to change their fortunes, Ethel risks her pride in pursuit of an invitation for all three of the girls, only for her hopes to be fulfilled by the wrong Ellen. Yet as her stepdaughter's engagement to the future king unfolds, Ethel discovers a sordid secret hidden in the depths of the royal family, forcing her to choose between the security she craves and the feckless stepdaughter who has rebuffed her at every turn. So this is Bridgerton meets Circe. So I think this is going to be a really, really, really fun, interesting book because we all know who Lady Tremaine is, but we know her in Cinderella's eyes. So I think that this is going to be a really fun retelling, little, I don't know, twisted story, I guess. And the next book that I want to read is One Day by David Nichols. This one has been on my TBR, ouch, for a little bit, but this one, it says it's 1988 and Dexter Mayhew and Emma Morley have only just met, but after only one day together, they cannot stop thinking about one another. Over 20 years, snapshots of that relationship are revealed on the same day, July 15th of each year. Dex and Em face squabbles and fights, hopes and missed opportunities, laughter and tears, and as the true meaning of this one crucial day is revealed, they must come to grips with the nature of love and life itself. This one's been on my TBR for quite some time, so I really just want to get to it this month. I think it's going to be a really sweet, just the perfect book for me right now. I don't think I need anything other than this. You know what I mean? This is the book that I just need. I need something that just seems, thank you. I just need something that seems like it's going to be really, I don't know, not to the point, but just sweet, I guess you could say. I don't know. Then the next book that I want to read, I'm also really excited about this one because it is kind of summer-ween, if you guys follow that. I want to read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This one, I mean, we all know Rebecca. You know what I mean? So this one says, last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. The novel begins in Monte Carlo, where our heroine is swept off her feet by the dashing widower Maxim de Winter and his sudden proposal of marriage. Orphaned and working as a lady's maid, she can barely believe her luck. It's only when they arrive at this massive country estate that she realizes how large a shadow his late wife will cast over their lives, presenting her with the lingering evil that threatens to destroy their marriage from beyond the grave. First published in 1938, this classic Gothic novel is such a compelling read that it won the Anthony Award for Best Novel of the Century. Best Novel of this Century, but I think this is the perfect time to read Rebecca. I think it's just going to be a 10 out of 10 read right now. And once again, I just need a classic. I need something a little bit spooky. You know what I mean? It's just starting to get to that time of the year where I'm just needing a little bit of everything right now, if that makes sense. And the last book that I want to read in the month of August is Summer Constellations by Alicia Savigny. This book, once again, has been on my TBR for the last like 2-3 months, but it's been a very busy summer for this house. A very busy summer. But this says, Julia is so ready for summer. Now that her little brother has finally recovered from a serious illness, all she wants to do is enjoy peak season at the lakeside campground her family owns. Then Julia's mom completely blindsides her. A wealthy developer thinks their campground property is the perfect spot for a casino. They have to consider the offer, Julia's mom says, because of their crushing medical bills. Heartbroken and afraid, Julia takes her telescope down to the dock one night seeking solace in the stars. That's when she has a chance encounter with Nick, a hot guy who offers some surprisingly sage advice. Too bad this guitar-strumming stranger is the developer's son. As plans for the sale move forward, Julia is desperate to find a way out. Nick is desperate to separate himself from his family's business. Together, he promises they can save the campground. But can Julia trust him to conspire against his own father? And could she ever trust him with her heart? I think that's gonna be cute. But that is, whoa. But those are the books that I read in July and the books that I want to read in August. I will go through them. I'm having such a hard time with words right now. I am going to go through them again. The first book that I read in the month of July was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. We rated that one a 5-star. The second book that I read in the month of July was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. We rated that book a 5-star. Then, those were the only books that I read in July. I know, super duper embarrassing. Then getting into our August TBR, the first book that I want to read is Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hockhauser. The second book that I want to read is One Day by David Nichols. The third book that I want to read is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And the last book that I want to read is Summer Constellations by Alicia Savigny. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. What was your favorite book that you read in July, and what is your most anticipated read for August? I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment downstairs. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.